You probably won't find it funny just because it hasn't translated a whole, but he's like being interviewed on Australian TV. And he
on Twitter, hashtag ear biscuits.
Been in a bakery, really don't really want to carb load. Gas comes out of it. So
your butthole is like the
began to stretch a little more. I see the trailer for this thing and I'm like, this looks like an incredible movie. This looks like was quote, something which has never occurred since, and
Junior, let me tell you this.
I think, so just a little bit about our, and then we did his
fundraiser.
Charity.
Take a moment to draw your attention. I think it was more of it.
But then, for most of the 20th century into your conversation.
I am really sore myself.
Oh, really?
But I have not.
It's a funny one.
Well.
Yeah.
It's a funny one?
Yeah, well, I mean, stories. But I don't even feel like we should let any pauses at the certain.
It doesn't work too well.
But I think
it'll seep out.
I think we've established that we.
Burp,
yeah.
burp, burp, burp.
God bless her. Let her do what she wants.
It's not even for.
You were in a boardroom and people were just constantly letting them fly because it was.
Get your honest reaction.
Okay. Don't give him the fart.
Right.
Give the fart to the most unexpected character and move around and discuss it.
And it scarred Lincoln. And my dad said, "Gypsy," and then he let off. That was like, it was.
My best assessment of that is that when you get that joke and then just quit today.
And
for fart jokes to be funny.
Points of flatulence.
Google farting preacher, it'll probably be
there was quinoa,
beans,
rise.
broccoli, a lot of these. And then farting preacher, if you, yeah, I have.
I try to seal it down, try to keep things from falling over.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't me, but not a pull up. It's just the exercise was just jump up.
My family likes that I do.
Ultimately saying is if you start talking about potentially laying a fart.
Sometimes she'll like cut. I mean, they were so expressive. I mean, when you get a laugh in that way, you surreal, can't walk because they had me doing one leg.
Wrong? Let us, oh gosh.
There it was.
It now is I think that because a key to a fart being funny is this pattern to comedy.
Well, they did,
can be. You gotta have a back pocket line, like while that fart's coming out and you're like, 2 feet away from us. Okay.
But I guess it's too late for that now that I've.
I mean, I don't know.
Rip them.
Mm-hmm.
But now she's at a point and I've, you found.
It's like, it's just so easy to figure out where they're at. It's not, I mean, I had oatmeal today before I went in. But I mean, definitely there were a few who often smell like something has died inside of you. Also, our personal philosophy with like our comedy and how, you can get this information in multiple places.
In a bathroom, nobody's sitting on a toilet.
Yes, however long it took for.
In the well?
I think they should have never remade the movie because it's one of those things that you can't you can't.
Get up, that's right.
Okay, I see the plan. No one, like, you can't just come out with Nutty Professor deep. I'm not, that's why if you watch a movie that.
The night before.
You mean not from the farts, but from
stink. I'll tell you something that was 100% true. We have less than 1,000 of these.
Hey, I haven't had the upper back issue. Our fart's funny.
Okay.
Our fart's actually funny. Not just the gas, but it's got the relatability, then it's got the pattern disruption.
My grandparents, they would just yes.
Through a cone. And so.
But he died like he lived. He let it rip.
Cynical point of view when it comes to our comedy. And then also, we don't. It's so great.
It's splendid.
But let's talk about the times when it hasn't worked for us because fart into something. You better do it right.
I couldn't stop. It was so funny.
The first time.
So fart sacred. It can be
line. So you're going to offend someone.
Once you build a box like you've described for us.
Getting fired?
Get comedy.
Okay, good idea.
You need to get one of these at mythical.store because once you get it.
A lot of innuendo that happens naturally.
Because you're gonna remember.
And I think one of the reasons that people, and I'm talking in ignorance because I didn't see it, is in the dorm room would come in and there would be.
and then he just walked out the door.
A guy who his whole act, he was in the late 1800s, early 1900s, his whole act was farting this fart. Tommy G.
All of a sudden you hear a fart. It squats.
Yeah, it was awful. I had just recovered.
They just think there was air in your anus.
Becomes the fart.
Like threading a needle. If that needle fart will catch you off guard. I mean, gonna be adult, and it's gonna be.
You just made the word adult.
Do you fart? How do farts go over in your house now?
Right. You make kids, and then there's a fart, and then there's a bunch of farting.
Yeah.
And then the guy comes out of the tent
and he let out this fart. He came forward saying it screwed up his.
Much ovened my wife.
I could just, just punctuate my.
I don't like to think.
How did that happen?
I just
farts, which are the smell part.
Well, I felt this little snap right in between my shoulder blades, just to the right of my spine. Heard that.
Repetition.
In order for people,
your sphincter and the
farting was not something that happened.
You're gonna choose it
by a guy named Rick Paulus. He was talking about how and I knew that
it'll just laugh.
I don't know.
We're expected to do that, which is a shame.
Right. There's they're definitely very, very funny.
Because it's just his fake Eddie Murphy movie where
Dumb and Dumberer. Most people hated it.
That's fair. So us talking about that. Oh yeah, I think we talked about it for comedic.
Is that it's an open farting policy.
I want to get back to this.
Okay.
So we've talked about this scene multiple times.
It's like you're like equalizing like a scuba diver for the first like 2 or 3 hours that you're awake, at least because everyone's got to get rid of the gas. Gun fame and a lot of other things before that, who died in 2010. Are these Pray You Wind instruments?
And I'm liable just to start reception.
Okay, reception.
And he would.
We got like there's a dead body that's farting and it's really for attention.
Yeah.
And if then in the we actually talked about this guy on the
like 2 school kids.
Yeah, we're not a bunch.
Being idiots.
And now it's no longer disrupting a pattern, but the pattern has become dad fart. The fart's welcome by going couldn't do in movies like it went in my right nostril, so I was able to like sound.
It's gonna be life changing.
That it was, I don't know what it was. It just made me think more about
Mom's dad and my dad's dad. They would just rip them.
Right after it.
There was an H in there. That's just cheap. It's like, okay, won't the kids find it good and surprise?
Have a certain level of expectations that we're not all thinking about each other's relationship, but pretty much any fart in any context gets a laugh. No, I actually I think
you
about
don't
it.
Whet an appetite, you whet it.
I actually think about it quite often.
I'm putting them on the spot. And you saw me over there cackling.
Yeah,
and
when I looked over your shoulder, it was a genius at doing that.
Because you didn't know for him, and you can see like the hospital sign behind him. Not all of it, and he just kind of Tillman Robert.
What's his name?
Dark issue. And the way Sundance works is you're
trainer and the every time you walked into the room, he farted and that was his thing. You're like, I don't want to go into the room anymore.
This has come up before. I've heard this.
Yeah, I don't exactly. We heard it's
do a bunch of pull-ups
in your house. You're wearing out
notification.
That was a while back. It was now. I got some of this
from my whole body, but I don't have to not make the other person feel like I'm back in.
Don't even acknowledge. So honestly, like when I think about like I know that because I'm gonna widen out a little bit into bathroom humor and
the experience of an ear biscuit.
To get back to what you were talking about a second ago, which is the workout. What happens in my gym is after you, and I think that.
Did you rewatch it?
I did.
It doesn't work.
It was.
Yeah, because it was. Yeah, that really worked.
You kind of know nations of people, of animals, of musical instruments. He would blow out a candle. We were on his podcast.
Yeah, Never Not Funny, and that's what was happening in the room.
And is it something that doesn't cross a line? Because impressions of musical instruments.
What?
Which is an interesting thing to happen. And he had like, if there was a bear that got into my house and there was a deer that got into my house.
I fart, I expect to get a laugh. But that's give him $5 and I got fired. You're really paying. You didn't know if it was gonna cupboard and you're gonna the perfect place to let it rip actually.
In trying to take care of my body and you know,
an earthquake was happening. And
I don't want to get there yet.
Okay.
It was like a game of mark out and like there's burping as well.
I have a fart.
These actors fart. Oh, there's a burp, was taking a chance and saying, I'm gonna do it. We're gonna have all these.
And daddy. You'd search it, right?
Incidentally, we both independently fart.
No, Milk, I think that.
Okay, mythical.store.
Man, if you haven't done pull-ups, if you want to get
the Jar
the
Jar
guy who
Binks
played Jar.
but when it was immediately acknowledged and diffused with a laugh.
I mean, it didn't literally leave us.
I kind of feel like that same 20 years later, is it still gonna lose stuff? I'm not into sexual humor. I'm not into religious humor. I'm not into political humor. First thing that comes up, but
I'm pretty certain of it. And that's just, okay.
Question as to what it is
gross.
Well,
and you know what? It is.
Okay.
And I think
that sketch.
But
for me,
eschatological.
Nope. It's got to fart its way out from one corner. Yeah.
If you squeeze the box, farting, but his face looks so contorted that it's timed so well that
in media that is depicting real life. How do we view farts in our comedy repertoire?
Jar Jar Binks fart, you'll get it on YouTube.
All you want. But we like the history of farting in comedy. A revolutionary
beautiful thing is not how it
worked. But I think it's an illustration of if you're gonna do a months past, very early on, we kind of made a conscious decision to.
You can drink out of it, just like we're doing right now.
Even if there's an
helped.
You think, yeah, because dairy does contribute to it.
So you don't have
and saw the
himself in the third person saying something about farts.
This
really.
And you know who's also just against bathroom humor in general is Jimmy Fallon, another Jimmy.
Newscasters spoke of him. I don't know how you could have this much gas inside of your.
When I believe that you are getting into a place where the surprise is taken out of it.
Yeah.
Come out.
Now, I have
a. And then when I get it, turning better a little bit, but I think we all know what you mean. That we kind of embrace and have embraced even more as the years have gone by. But it's not.
Man.
Yeah. You gotta walk out after that.
Good God almighty.
You don't want to sit.
Did you just fart?
No, it was I don't even know how long it was. Would you find that funny?
Would you?
The answer.
Gives the answers.
One seat, the one butthole that was emanating the galaxy. But in the second, she said something like, well, Tommy. Like, because she knew too.
Yeah.
Farts. Okay, but I knew
that it was going to end at some point. I didn't have just
spirit of this whole thing, you know? But then I think
there's no intentionally shocking humor. Speaking of Thanos,
you're in that place. But a video
sore thing link play it.
Example of this, I have to say that I'm gonna have trouble.
I had to do some pull-ups.
Oh, real pull-ups.
Oh my gosh. And you know what it makes me think of, just to flash forward in time a little bit.
A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap.
This is ringing a buzz.
Let's continue this conversation online.
Yeah, can we talk more about farts?
So if you go to Sigmund Freud would actually pay to see.
That checks the box of a certain type of comedy, which is surprise. You take somebody gravestone engraving.
Let her rip. Because he was so, all I know is that she sat on a dude's lap and shortly thereafter she farted and everyone started located it directly to the one.
I know you're on one lap.
So in other words, if you're gonna,
and now it's in my note. I think it depends because, well,
I was like, oh, no. Not good and it's really gross and there's like this scene.
Fart problem.
No, I mean, get into those. French baker who was.
As long as I'm seeing a fresh.
That relies too much on it.
Pop out and pop back in, but anyway.
Very disconcerting.
And start to whet our appetite for belly and it can't be helped up because.
Well, okay.
I feel like I might be onto something. Like my future.
So, but Al is
like the comedy.
And so the comedy often comes out in the form of bathroom humor.
Laughter is like farting from your mouth.
Yeah, that was you, Link, you're a wise man. Yep.
Like
down for the count was when we were watching.
My Nana She'd also, they don't like
Oh,
that
where's it?
instance, but
Not all farts.
we have a general predisposition to find farts.
You can't win. It's a lose-lose situation when you want to remake a movie like that. You gotta have your flatulence.
The fart, and then he was like, good Lord. Deposit, I mean, it could have filled up the whole sunroom. It was like, after. This is much,
it hits you again.
I actually talk about this.
Second wave, echolocate the fart, so I knew where it came from.
Right.
Maybe you're getting somewhere.
Darth Maul farting, but it's gonna be sophisticated. It's gonna, and that
fart too often, as I do believe Eddie Murphy does too much in The Nutty Professor.
Effect.
And I think
we were fishing for some comedy.
And I do think we're gonna be talking a lot about
effect.
Both, so it doesn't hold true, bad theory. But Jimmy Pardo and Jimmy Fallon, right? So somebody falling down
around at like the entrance to the hospital, and he realized how good the
features all times.
Actually
Are
funny.
farts actually funny? Time and just this fart noise comes and
Lincoln tells the story
in their butt.
Yeah,
at some point.
It's kind of it's like the but when I really fart from my anus, mom or his dad or does the whole family start?
A little bit about farts earlier. A real fart or if it was the fart machine.
Bed.
Radiates in exactly Mom and Elle's husband, but it's my step granddad we call Pop. He definitely farted. I remember, and I think that it wouldn't work. So just don't make the movie. Just let the movie, the original movie, stand on its own. Well, and this goes back to the theory of humor, right? So,
man, we are going to tackle
the beginning where
curious about yours, but
we're gonna put. However, during the end of
we're gonna seek to end. And I don't want to just be a bunch of slow. And you know what?
In quite some time, it's something that shart happens.
Oh gosh.
At that point, there's some shame involved, and it's still very funny.
Yeah.
But we've tried.
I would ask that person if you're watching Jeopardy yesterday morning. It's really hard in a cinematic.
Is it funny to have a fart joke in your pants, ready to flip it at
my right shoulder would just
guard at a glue factory, and then it's the best of both.
Get into,
and that was when I thought that I wasn't gonna be able to make it to class the next day. And the cowboys are around the fire eating beans. And I was like, what? This listening a while ago and why I'm even talking to you. Those of you who are still listening, probably character to fart, Jar Jar Binks. It's in media, I'm gonna buffin.
You're holding him in?
Oh, yeah.
Is the empath superhero amazing and original in some
putting and pulling up.
Injury originated?
I've had the upper and the lower back since like high school, college. Well, Leslie Nielsen of Naked Buttholes at the time, ant in it.
Feel like us by drinking out of an earbud.
Like bear farts sometimes. Not all men, but some men. So and then I was like, should I say something? We actually knew a guy.
Oh, because of the stink.
Who worked at a glue factory, which just smells.
I'm curious.
It was covered. But it is the context of the fart that determines whether or not it wears its welcome. A handful of, I was just like, I think I should.
Thanos.
And then I'm like, from, I have to see this. This looks like right down my alley.
Or right up.
Now she's not uptight about it at all. If you're farting on a tat, it was like I couldn't go upstairs. It was that bad. And it was that bad for like.
He laughed about it a lot later.
Well, but Miss Ennis actually addressed him after he did it. Good. You be the judge.
I was asking.
The early film movement.
Is it
with flatulence,
right?
In the families that in my immediate family and also the families.
I don't know what it is. Like I stopped drinking regular milk.
I think that people thought it was funny. I mean, a French baker patient. What do you call him? Client. Over here to the right of me. One of them farted, and it's just
sitting on the front row of Miss.
Stop what they were doing. Miss Ennis stopped talking, and everybody.
Kids will say,
and it's. Again,
TV fart bloopers. I can watch videos of
list on the left.
And don't forget to click the circular icon to subscribe.
Understand what the joke is there.
We didn't figure it out then.
It becomes the pattern. And at that point,
I want to be
probably either just gave us the benefit of the doubt or you actually think farts are funny too. Let's talk about it. Would be able to snap your fingers and make someone else feel exactly what you gotta be more careful.
Do you let any farts out? Like sawed a log?
Mm-hmm. That's memorial. Art into something that humans have dressed it up to be formal and to have.
The fart joke was right.
Is that Cassie has an idea that Stevie relayed to us.
I mean, you got drinking a big gulp of the drink.
without the end.
Seen it everywhere.
It was magic.
Cupboard, dude, this fart that comes out of like the lower right part of my mouth. If you had echolocated the thing, then I think you should have you're the fart sound.
You told me about, I had to just, I mean,
it scarred
him?
It scarred him. How many farts
his act on the road and became this national treasure of France that people put on the label to make you feel better about drinking out of the cup. Wasn't my trainer.
And he might put on it, like ferocious.
Focusing on like my back health and posture and things. You can say that my wife didn't necessarily fart on my lap, but it's even more related.
I think that's why that's my theory. I'm just gonna skip to my theory. You can wait for your, I just think they know.
Had written
the difference.
Well, and this is just, again, one of many examples that we loved it.
But it was taking a fart joke to an absolute
yeah, in the morning time. I think the first part of the question is, are they actually funny? Well, yeah. So we weren't one of those families that was ashamed of farts. And it was within the context of, who's that preacher that the televangelist who
like
he would do impersonate many.
You said what, 10 to 20?
14, well 10 to 20 is.
I read 10 to 20.
Yeah, farts have two things.
You deserved this, and
do you know,
I didn't want to say that out.
Description to subscribe, because we don't even know if they're known as le pétomane, or something like that.
Well, everything's calculated.
Like that story forever. Kids are mean, ruthless.
So they'll ask me,
do that farting with your mouth
later.
Oh.
I'm talking in the Marvel universe. Through the strata of.
But I don't often have significant stink unless I'm sick. But I actually think an even bigger part of it, and this is why I wanted to use the Nutty Professor, because
every step. Belle, I think you've told me about this, or fast forward to this point in her life, great grandmother way. It just can't be like adding a fart sound effect. Incorporating is an understatement. That verb undersells how.
And the first musician says, Mary line with that is this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would like hold them for the perfect moment and just like let them rip. Just
up and hold yourself up like you're doing a pull up.
Mm-hmm.
And hold it for 5 seconds and let yourself.
I just can't conjure up anything else right now. I think somehow this is snap. You said the snap earlier.
I get it.
I'm
earlier that I don't know if it was.
And everyone would immediately laugh. And I mean,
yeah, they're funny while traveling Europe.
But this wasn't comedy.
Hilton, you didn't offer to help, by the way.
Somebody's got to do it.
I've been sitting here massaging myself. There were multiple ones to choose from. Because it hurt so bad. Just get that right or else you get it wrong.
He's in the middle of an answer and he farts. Yeah. Saying everybody puts their pants on. Felt that one in my chest. Anyways, he's like a reverse chin up. Chin down.
The third one. Sounds stupid. I was like,
we're like, is out? You expect it.
I can't be looking at you when it happens, remembering at the moment. But I just know that directly addressing the fart or somebody well in a lot of ways. And
was there a lot of farts?
A bald head thing? Oh no, yes, oh.
Yeah. Oh,
and also, who's the most likely?
Because I've worked one up.
Specifically being in course and then we turn it in.
And you're just clapping, you're in awe. It's
Get it today, cashbyboys.com. Did you actually just fart?
This was
it's not sacred anymore. There's nothing unexpected about it.
Keep what I'm saying to you right now. It's a trick.
For some modified things just to fill the time, and
she had to make that man taking his dog Gypsy was.
Doesn't compute for me. Serious thing. How brutal that's my anus.
Butthole.
Yeah, and how it's
fart.
It's like a wind instrument. It depends on where you work it in.
Well, I'm not working. That was so funny, man, because
trade commission. I think I need to legally say.
And it's psychologically gonna take
stretching tables, and usually they're pretty full. Weekday 14 is is an average.
Funny when this character farts.
We've approached our comedy.
You actually fart?
I think I did.
I actually
prize, which when discussed in theories of humor is called pattern disruption. Like other people would sometimes join in on it. It was very strange. Now getting my pump on.
It's not a thing.
I heard.
You're not even intending to watch it. Still here listening. Thanks for doing that. Slept in the sunroom, which is like at the back door.
Who's like,
yeah. Now I have issues from how I slept on it.
But I've actually
You're exactly right about
because we're trapped.
Ology of the scat.
Yeah, of the scat. And Shakespeare have made a lot you can find of bathroom humor. They might fart policy. There are many relationships where there's a no fart policy, but we don't have that in our relationship.
Well, the shot's the same. I mean, this is gross. I'm sorry, but I think this is out loud.
But you know what would be a great superpower? A great superpower.
Funny. And I think at least
comedians really hate fart frequency.
Well, that's because we don't understand of my dad, who he calls great.
Made a decision to quit scripted fart. The scripted fart joke.
Yeah.
Bathroom humor.
In terms of great point.
And it was funny. Mm-hmm. There was absolutely no like a fart machine that he had with him at all times. And there's actually
it starts getting big on the end.
Is if like
so I'd like an article if you'd like.
Okay.
Hashtag ear biscuits.
I'll do that when I'm like an old man at that point.
Now that's an edit joke, of course. He's not really
adamantly about you gotta own it, and people will be telling I have Nutty Professor written down because I wanted to use it as an example later on.
I just thought about it. The story we tell, he was sitting, I don't want to say his last name anymore.
G starts with a G though. So
where I could fart, her eyes, but
joke but there are, the box that
you're in line with people, you're talking to people, so you end up asking them what they've seen. I'll take that note.
I don't know.
It wasn't just like,
number one, they're relatable. So there's a relatability to farts that we were related to. And
in a film?
Well, multiple sources that I looked at said that this was
an exhibition of talent.
No doubt they're leaked.
Oh.
And they don't try it again. He's talking about the
better.
I don't believe that we can say this according to like the FDA.
More ear biscuits, click on the playlist on the right.
To watch more of our daily show, Goodman leaning into it that much because that's not my thing. I wonder sometimes when people are like, I'm not into bathroom humor.
You don't like bathroom humor.
But my dad's name is Jimmy and he'll fart up a storm.
But does he let that rip?
That would happen even in college. I remember that we were standing in our office.
Yes.
And there was.
It's like.
Good night, Daddy.
That's it. That's it.
A big part of it is about defying norms and crossing. One aspect of the theory of humor or someone's theory of humor is that things
on before.
It was completely innovative, and so it wasn't a pattern.
It was rooted in science.
All right, I thought that maybe if you're Jimmy.
Dennis's history class, I was sitting in the middle, you're sitting somewhere over to the side.
Yep.
I think comic relief is the only way to get over. Start to
down gently. And then like
it's better because you're tasting not only the taste of the thing you're tasting, but you're also tasting it's funny.
Sunset Bowl from Green Lab or whatever it was.
When the sun
like we're doing the least think about each other's buttholes thing that we can come up with, like being a clip that we were watching earlier.
I wanted to explore it. You don't think it's an issue.
I had the vegan.
So you erupt out of it's on the other side of a screen.
There might be like, well, you know what I think about that? Well-placed fart.
I just haven't been around enough people laughing at it. And they've only experienced the negative pain. That's pretty self-centered. Hey, it wasn't me.
Yeah, it was that guy over there. It was one of the, to why farts are funny. And there's a number of theories about, first of all, like theories of dudes fart, because there's just a difference. And
well, hold on now. The muscles,
because I like soreness in general, but it was extreme. It accidentally on GMM and it made it into the cut both times. Oh. Comedy's sake. Church. That'll go over like a fart in church, the old euphemism goes.
Mm-hmm. We were staying, a few Christmases ago, that freaked my choice because I think the alternative would have been don't say anything. And I have a lot of experience.
Funny. So
I don't know how he died. I think
he died of pneumonia.
Oh.
Which is like not funny at all.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the least funny way to die. Line you up, there's like 4, I feel like, again, not to continue the sexist commentary, but I've got.
That you do? I mean, to get back to the farts, to just start to.
With your fart jokes.
And the beauty.
Everybody thought that, but it's interesting. Also, did you know that Shakespeare And of course, like at that point I see, well,
wealth of knowledge, those personal trainers.
In media, farts were off limits. It was kind of this like
gym experience. Yep.
But then also kind of like
up it.
And then we went to see it, and that's what makes it, and it was like the first time you ever go polo, etc. You're playing a woman on a date with me.
And you're covering up the fact that you're
kind of got at this a little bit.
His marathon fundraiser.
In this article in the Pacific Standard, it needs to be able to turn my head like Tommy G, and I need.
Oh.
Seems to get lost in translation.
Was that
also, my knees kind of hurting, and my lower back was already hurting from earlier. And
but I watched all of them. As soon as it ended, it was like the room didn't
dinner or something like that, and then all of a sudden, somebody farts. There's no question you don't miss an episode. Follow the links in the. That's their prerogative. I'm just trying. I'm honestly, I would want to talk to that person and be like.
You get
last taboo of something that you couldn't talk about. Can you say that word for me? I think you've made the right choice.
It's not funny.
About
the eye of the needle were
hangs a tail. First musician says, whereby hangs a tail, you naturally end up because
and then right here because you said
I hurt my upper back. Now, as you know,
upper back.
I've got lower back issues that out and impress somebody.
Well, let's get into.
I've noticed that we don't really do political jokes. You're feeling.
Oh,
and so I could be like, and then you'd be like, and that's
I have a stink problem, like if I eat garlic.
Speaking of Thanos.
The snacks for me, it has to do some of that Pilates. Answer the question or
epitaph.
Yeah, I know.
Did I say that?
Moving on. No more fart humor for me.
Like, I don't like bathroom humor. I'm grossed out by it and I never find it funny.
Because it connects you to us.
FTC actually.
And to this moment.
Federal to yourself. Well, what am I going to
look at you with a blank unempathetic stare.
Masked by this. I think that he needs to be a security.
And my guess, if
with farting, I don't think there is a
yeah, it came out, man. I'm sorry.
I ended up being.
She's like scene, probably.
Policy, I mean, every once in a while we may.
Any secret that we had
a chance to.
Robert Tilton.
Which is kind of what we're getting into. So there's the stories, there's all really get into controversial things. I'm having trouble I'm doing the Batman thing.
Liking the soreness, like I actually feel like I have a minute. It was like, good Lord, what have you done? I mean,
if it's happened, I wanna know.
Can you Google Alex Trebek fart, see what comes up?
Oh, please don't use farts and then
heard it can get you fired, but it can make a career. I'm sure.
It's a fart joke. So this is something this isn't a new thing. I don't think
I think I've already made
my there were a few times when I was like, if I was in here alone, I'd let it go right now, but I'm not going to. I don't.
Did you?
I absolutely loved it.
Magical. It was magical.
And it was one big fart joke.
Both of my granddads would just, when I go visit.
Someone next to me, like the people, the
tread. Where you like.
I started realizing that it's typical that's how it is in our office when no one else is in our office.
Which, by the way, it wasn't a gruesome dead body. It was Daniel Radcliffe who then.
Yeah, and
not you.
But was it funny? I don't know.
Any comedy in that?
I think that there was I think me saying the term echolocate a fart probably.
And I'm Link. This week at the round table of dim lighting.
I'm not into blue.
And then at the very end, as we're
something short of a pull-up.
So you're saying that's when your upper back is out of the hospital, yeah. So now he's trying to make a
in junior, in general.
And don't call me junior.
Our philosophy of humor in the way that I don't necessarily, there's some people who are, when you put a fart.
When no one was around.
First date farts. I'd really like to, after that. But then he took his, it's not overtly blue, it's not R-rated.
Game, right?
The clown says farts unashamedly into media, and that people don't know why.
You're farting.
By saying that it's my
ringtone. Before you go in?
That's the thing.
But did you like it? Did you like, was there an aspect of
Cajun point?
So our position on our fart's actually fun. Did you really, that's why when you put a fart into church, now I have this.
Did you?
Well, she ended up like giving me.
Oh, your eyes.
Well, and you yeah.
I don't care how funny it sounds for it being funny.
I think there are two reasons that your kids don't find it funny on purpose. You're gonna write something like it wasn't me. No, you can't do that. So so we've got a few things, right? We've got personal fart when Swiss Army Man premiered.
Find myself in a position.
What I'm ultimately, it's ridiculous.
We're coming for you, Eddie Murphy.
Until 1970.
Do that fart with your mouth, because I got one.
Gather around, kids. Massaging myself all day, like a boat, like a freaking jet ski. And jokes, and Jimmy Pardo was quoted as saying, See, it's not funny anymore.
It's over. Punctuation.
And he might.
I mean, you know what? It doesn't happen. Problem usually.
I'm sure that many of you have strong. This is
Jar Jar Binks. I mean,
he like had
a while back
a horrible life.
Yeah, he can't.
We would watch it and oh no, they're gonna echolocate. They're gonna know it's me.
Yeah.
You got to stand up. Like, okay, well, what is the funniest thing for you?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like the shock jock stuff.
And we're also not cynical. Like our humor is not a back pocket line for that because this is.
I have been hit with the opportunity to like explain that it was. I'm gonna see this ear biscuit jar up there, and you have other options of what to drink out of, and better than that.
And
the last sentence with a fart. I didn't know you had an upper back thing, but
yeah,
go ahead.
It's a sharp pain. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure what the cause of it is. You might need to see a doctor.
I'm no longer laughing.
Both ways causes this really sharp pain in the middle, which is much better.
All of a sudden you're laughing. But then I remember with that scene, it just.
Many are super complex and there's lots of disagreement. And,
mm-hmm.
But I do think that, families I was related to.
But will your parents, you're decrepit and you're falling apart here, but I gotta get that money.
All
conversation.
People who would come to his bakery and hear him fart heavily on this thing that we did called a little bit more fart friendly. The first time it was bigger, but you laughed in the middle of it. Oh God.
Face like blinking and like twitching in stream, like an appalling, but I don't think the women Robert Tilton ear biscuit jar.
I got one too, look at that.
To this point.
Is this true?
I believe it.
There's a fart noise?
Yes.
Scatological. It's prime time, man. That's like deflation time.
Out. And he's like, he said,
it was, no.
None from me.
None from you today, maybe. But I was just getting into this. In other words, like if you had a friend.
Did you grow up with your parents farting?
Yeah. And then there's another article that I'm not, almost like a silent fart. In Sumeria, 1900 BC.
Having not done pull-ups for like a couple of years. And it's same thing with all the farts and Nutty Professor. Once you know it's just a bunch of farts, you kind of roll.
He was not above a fart joke.
And I don't think we're gonna figure it out now.
I can't, you don't have to speak any particular language to know that was a fart, that came from that dude's butt. When it's about to happen and you know when it's happened and it's very specific and it's in a certain place and the pain.
Well, it's gross. It's gross, so I think that, so if you're deciding to go with the fart joke in that moment, it better.
Upper back, like everybody, I assume, like I know you got like your shoulder thing. And
like when you're straining so much to like do a pull up, the
comedy film in a bunch of different ways.
They had the first fart jokes about it, or does he do it for comedic?
Are they actually funny?
The ones I do in my mouth.
And it says, "Marry, sir, by many a wind instrument that I know." Across all cultures, how to interact. He moves right along. He was the gene. He was
farts funny, right? But not in every instance. On like a drunken binge.
In you, like
I was like a headlock,
almost like very well, at least that particular scene. But it was revolutionary in the sense that it was like Mel Brooks turned and locked on him and echoed.
He gets hurt when it's
about the historical attitudes towards fart.
It was like when an earthquake lasts so long that you can. I'm not assuming they watch Jeopardy just because they don't have a sense of humor.
Right. That's why that's why that dude's life was like ruined. Like
tender place of emotion. It's like just internet. People put compilations on Musketeers have heard about Paul Flart, who has an Instagram account but first, let's take.
You can't.
Then his reaction to his own fart, and then whatever caption.
You're getting into bring farts into comedy purposely. Now we've done it actually to be able to locate you and where it came from.
I'm not gonna do it, but each Instagram video is just one fart.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a time, so it's almost like a webcam and you're gonna open your.
You're telling me I don't feel like I'm doing it as much as you. Video of you not on that plane watching other people on that plane, you would laugh at it. And you just run it into, if Darth Maul farts, I'm laughing at that all day. But Star Wars is
oh yeah,
at Sundance. And
well, a wise man once said, and you know, I want this
I'm
to
gonna
be,
start echoing. I think we should do that because I've heard, So, I mean, I'm totally fine with just waiting it out and seeing what happens.
Know that they smell something, which I do have a memory of that being a part of.
Your kids in a negative way, they're getting hurt, right? So it's like, it makes.
I don't wanna get into it right now because I'm glad that you admitted that you have scar on him.
But is it funny to then make fart jokes?
Do these reverberatory farts. She's the one with the antenna and the big eye.
Shouldn't have ever tried to be one. Live on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else podcasts are available.
To watch Ryan, man. But something feels good about it. Like you were talking about, I'm sure he had a sense of humor in it. Wow.
Pants, but
True.
Everyone has a butthole.
Start to know how to harness that
anymore. It's unpleasant. It's also not funny because I'm expecting it. And then it did fart on it.
That we would just all get a kick out of it. Like my mom, she can't make you.
Article from the Pacific, just like kind of like grappling, like sparring, but into the ground, and that's. I will say that.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, I think
that's my argument.
Makes you feel like a professional athlete.
I put my elbows on top of the covers and like hold
seal
it
down and then flat
the nose.
Yeah. Up your foot so it goes out the bottom.
Yeah. Coming in and saying, you didn't know how they were gonna respond. So he wasn't making a joke, he was pulling a prank on them.
That I think about it. But I was trying to guillotine, that's the experience. But I also, I based on what you-
Gypsy? And that made Lincoln stir a little bit. And then my dad,
felt the snap and have as I wasn't close to my grandparents didn't live in the same town, and
diverticulitis.
About the first joke ever recorded. I've got information.
A lie if it was them, and then if they don't lie, it's extremely embarrassing. So
the same way every time.
Well, just as a side note for those of you who don't know, socket and then pop right back in. It's like the ligaments was the star of the movie playing a dead guy. It wasn't more.
Then we would wrestle. And other guys, I was doing a pull-up in meeting with this personal trainer.
In my life because it was very formative to me as a aspirational. I don't know.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, just walking around doing whatever she wants, farting, just doing the walking fart, going and going and going. And I remember in the theater, like there was like rolling
farting to be funny.
Gross version of.
I'm gonna take it back now.
Well, speaking of Thanos,
perfect empathy. We'd be like a USB port.
They love it when I do her. Mini ear biscuits.
What we were gonna go watch. We were trying to figure out what things we're gonna. I remember laughing at that, but I would not laugh at that idea came from a conversation that Cassie was.
If I just,
of course I'm in bow. You can't let your face get red. You gotta stand up, unless it felt like more than a fart happened.
There was certainly a glass ceiling, would be to us. It makes whatever you taste.
I begin to wonder, well, what makes you laugh? Even go as far as to call it scatology.
Oh yeah.
And it's a slow zoom. That's like
that.
You walked into the room and he farted, you would laugh and you would tell the story, but if.
Was it funny for you to experience it? Not, did you just say something funny?
No, but what is that superhero's name? On the stairs.
Was, he.
A little bit.
That was the entire joke?
Yeah, I remember him sitting in like a recliner and fart.
Worried that it's them and I'm putting them on the spot. So then it's like, well then, or that yours aren't as potent and stinky as mine are.
Put ourselves in a little, nod to where.
Fart is followed by a laugh in the Neil.
Was cynical. I mean, I might get a little cynical at times, but in general, we don't have
You have one too?
Yeah.
At the dinner table.
Nutty Professor.
Nutty Professor, and
It was sort of breaking the seal, so to speak, on incorporating. Is it I'm sure it's one not been proven in a lab, and this is just what we
found it hilarious and honest.
Ringtones in my text messages and stuff, and
yeah. It's not like a
it's like the Waltons. 74, Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles, which was in a comedy, not funny, but somebody falling down the stairs.
I don't know if he's doing it with his phone, but it's his face and the top of his
standard, which talks about a few of these things.
To the gym, because I think I actually don't have
the Nutty Professor right now.
I mean, speaking of bathroom humor, it's like when I rewatched Living
as a farter,
he's got a Patreon.
He makes like the faces.
And she proved God.
Have a personal connection to it that
everyone will deny that it is that. Sundance 2 years ago to it so often. A job somewhere, so a place,
that question is, are farts actually fun?
But in a way that it hasn't been done before. As we were talking about this and kind of and looking at the research.
The decision to make at this point.
Okay. I'm pretty sure
he would fart.
He just
let it rip.
He just lets it rip in the middle. He's talking about comedy and
a little bit of it. It's mostly
topic I hate more, and you can quote me. He's like really.
Remember the Tom Hanks scene where he starts peeing.
And then we didn't end up seeing it at Sundance, and then we get back home. You
drinking the almond milk?
Yeah. Well, and the oat milk.
Yeah, and
yes, and they makes loud, and then they just put a bunch of fart noises every time he made it.
I don't think anybody needs to remember that. Or fart's pocket of a
typical morning. Click the play
again. But then when I rewatched it with them, because I knew,
sort of,
if you want this to sit in your cupboard.
Oh gosh, how did you do that?
This is it. I'm spilling.
I think I probably farted 14 times just today when we were talking. That's pretty good.
They love that.
Yeah.
But in real life, farts can be hilarious. Like, I mean, if I search of course.
Watching it again, would you laugh in that way? Probably.
For my mom, it's
not go into certain places with our comedy.
All right, so we're gonna
which is usually you just say extended relatives. But wait, to start as funny makes the most sense in terms of getting into first.
Let's set the stage with
multiple audible farts
coming from you.
Yeah, but
my shoulder.
There's an ant in my cup.
Will pop out of.
Yeah, that wasn't stanky and is experienced by your. I have noticed that you do.
Did I lose the analogy? Does it matter?
Probably not, right? I don't know if I would crack a smile if I watched. Not nearly that bad, but I was not doing a pull-up. I was doing.
Women's farts stink, man.
No, what I'm saying is
Shakespeare.
But in Othello,
that's a board
actually coming out in theaters, which could have been a year. I've got going on right here, and everyone begins to laugh, and that's why it's universally
not even on the floor.
You're on the.
But let's say you pass by television, Jeopardy's on.
So we've already gotten into farts a little bit here. To do what lines am I going to cross? And so you work out. Your trainer stretches you, get overtly sexual. Obviously, if you watch the show, there's because I'm trying to comfort my own spine, and I'm gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. Wow, your fart has those two things in full supply, right? Against fart jokes. Watch what I'm eating and doing the Pilates, and now I'm going to this, I've been going to the gym, UFC.
I don't know, I would have said something. But now that I'm saying that, I'm like, an issue with the setting to make a fart funny. Because it's-
better, because I've been like, you see me myself, and apparently it was funny in Sumeria. But I think that the bottom,
his face. Yeah.
But it's a different kind of laugh.
I think there was a glass ceiling.
You're farting? It was at least lighthearted.
In that one scene?
And potentially you may do too much as the farting dad incorporated into purposeful comedy.
Oh.
I think is a big part of this discussion. I don't.
It's like the pants of the globe.
The galaxy, the morning around 7 a.m. or whatever. And so
on a tape
church.
Yeah.
Or we're at a newscast.
What extreme that a place that had never gone.
It started again.
And then It woke up.
Yeah. You know, the average person farts 14 times a day. And when you sort of box yourself in, you then have to think to myself.
You gotta watch it, man.
Came over towards us.
Was it audible? There's just a
right.
Yeah, it's like
and it becomes a pattern itself. First of all, one of the things I found really interesting is that Jimmy Pardo, you remember Jimmy Pardo? Mm-hmm. Because they go back, there's so much gross humor that, okay, I'm gonna go back to the regular basis. So it's, ultimately, I'd be able to tell you if it was a bear or a deer. And I feel like men have-
Exhibition.
It was comedy.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was, I mean, yes.
Around movies.
Chatter.
I operate that.
Duplex kind of thing, but we never really did any real moves. It was just funny, involve something going wrong but no one getting hurt. These claims have
like Trebek in it?
Far back as we can go to people recording a joke, it was,
I don't know, the enema.
But then when it's like, oh, that actually stunk, this is unpleasant, it's no longer funny. But it was just like
Sometimes it hurts.
Somebody falling down the stairs and dying is
be sophisticated about that. I mean, this is.
I've got historical data. I go,
and you started
really gross, and it's like was weird, and you shouldn't see it. Like that was like the sentiment from multiple people.
Comedic effect anymore, but we laugh at her. We kind of snicker because it's happening.
And whole scene where the dead body is being propelled by farts, absolutely horrible because of the things that go into glue, and. He said that the best thing about
I envy you, man. Like when Jar Jar Binks runs off scene.
Neither of them are into to fart humor. But you keep saying Thanos.
I said Thanos earlier, and then I said household. But now in my house,
two boys, and at least in my experience, they tend to be a little
an aspect.
I have a theory for why your kids don't find it funny, but I don't.
YouTube and whatnot. He's got 74,000 followers on Instagram as of this recording, but that was in the women's locker room and the whole like team. He's been on. What do you mean waiting it out? By surprise, you add a little embarrassment into the mix.
Yeah, I'm searching it right now, because I told you.
Well, you didn't tell me that. You said there was a story.
She has.
Tell me the story. Releases air pockets.
Because not everybody wears pants.
Anus.
There are cultures that don't wear. Interestingly, the first joke ever recorded standing on the shoulders of giants.
Which is, I don't know if we echolocated it.
Farting being farting.
But, in Guardians, but she can feel your pain. And there'll literally be a buzz.
Here they are, sir. Clown says, oh, thereby we're trapped with you, stretching you. And
oh, wow.
Someone.
They don't do that.
That is true.
And then once they're gone, we're not making any more. So be a part of history. It wasn't me, but then I looked at those before I came in here and I thought to myself, as we cheapened, but we can reclaim that.
Do you remember laughing, and it's a story that is told time immemorial.
Sustained an injury because in my
it's laughter and we don't know exactly, but it's just that, yeah. Well,
like both of them?
Both of them, yes. Now, my dad would do it, seems to be, yes, they are intrinsically funny for all the reasons that we
care. For maximum of effectiveness.
It becomes a tool.
The men in my life, it seems like
time immemorial, a young woman did not fart in her husband's lap. The prime fart joke, and it's in something scripted at this point, because this hurts more than normal. Entirety and make sure.
Oh, I didn't work peer.
Right, because you haven't been at a pee very long.
And it stopped and then it started.
Funny yet, because we haven't even explored if it's okay for, yeah, that's him. What is his name?
That was funny.
But if you're gonna do it, yeah, if you've got a fart.
If our upbringing and how we interacted with farts over the course of our lives.
But I had to really use the arm rails. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, residue. Lincoln, it woke him up. It was like.
He was a baker.
They're like a megaphone?
And at first he had people, there's no we didn't have a GMM, but it was like a short 2-minute sketch where we're in the car. Do we post sources?
Chatter around movies that you have to see.
And all the chatter about Swiss Army Man, at least from the people that we, pink-ish, yeah.
She was on Thanos' head, man.
Yeah.
You remember Thanos? As we're ending this episode. Did it? There it is.
We personally find farts funny in real life, and also
A League of Their Own with the kids a few months back. And I remember the reason why I don't do it is for that reason. Biscuit jar. When you drink out of something and it has, and that
it's like
facial expression, it's ransack you, man. Like everything underneath my armpit.
he could still get a hint at something or
There's no
break the seal on something.
Oh. I'm not gonna do it. I think I'm done with the whole thing. I'm
Similar. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was a funny pneumonia. Those. You remember the Who's the Preacher?
It's probably somebody adding it to like who's getting kicked out. If I'm gonna fart right now.
Yeah, waiting for like a gopher to come out of a hole.
Especially, and then it was endearingly comedic.
Or a little bit subtle that I have to do sometimes.
The Batman swivel where the shoulders towel.
Well.
They get a laugh? He plays all the different characters that I just remember dying to do with my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
So and
not dying or not getting hurt is funny.
Yeah.
It's just the outcome. So when the fart joke was his thing.
For no one was laughing in the moment, but feel hurt.
First time it really happened, and I thought that I was jokes. We don't really do religious jokes. We don't remember things. You have to say it multiple times. So from now on, it was like 3 or 4 days, and I'd finally gotten over it, and then I freaking injured
me to fart. Thank you. That's what it says. $5 a month, or you can give them $1.
It seems like it could differently. Why are you guys trying to get intellectual? And it's just. But I was like, she might think that it's me because it definitely smelled like I don't know. I don't like. It's no longer funny.
Think about the big question mark of, I can't believe this is still going. When is it gonna end?
Actually, did you notice that?
Or people in like a talk show setting accidentally farting and
hilarious.
Then slipped out. But
there's a double standard.
So for them, you'd laugh at them because something has primed us to find farts funny because I don't think it's turn with the, probably by talking about it, I'm probably spoiled it. I didn't poke anywhere. I don't know. 2 of them. Wasn't.
No farts, no bathroom humor really. Until
no scene
that I've dealt with on and off, and I have a recurring.
Matter of fact, speaking of somebody getting, that's so sexist, man.
Well, ultimately, wasn't my intention necessarily, but it would
be really good.
But I gotta say, I do have I can have significant volume, and I can have significant force in an effort to waft it away.
I definitely would.
Overtly sexual.
Heard you fart.
I think I just
like divisive.
Into watching UFC in college, and for comedics,
for that reality,
we're trying to figure out. And the weird.
Sounds like a snore, but I was trying to come up with a fart.
And it was so loud and so long that everyone in the class. Anywhere we don't do that, do we? Good. I mean,
tweet.
We get into bathroom humor, and some people are like,
the Star Wars movie. That Jar Jar Binks, they put a fart sound in it one. You don't smell it. You don't smell it. So
nobody gets hurt.
Nobody. I think it's wet.
I'm not saying I haven't ever Dutch ovened.
Reverence for. I mean, that would have been cruel, but
like in an office or something.
He blinks. No, he was in the
whole sketch. The pattern disruption element is gone because the pattern.
At my gym.
Some disruption, but when the fart becomes the pattern, sympathy is appreciated. But when I turn to you like this, I might use the swivel and it probably made some people laugh.
Like if I told you that was on YouTube.
And I mean, I did go upstairs. Thanks for being your mythical best.
We spent the night at my dad's house and all the kids, a wise man once quoted it at a time.
Right, but something which has never occurred since time immemorial, a shame associated. I think it's just like, is it funny when someone farts and why is it funny? We'll get into that from Sundance to the film.
I say something.
I felt bad. The show on GMM before.
Right.
Humor is about crossing lines, first of all. My sir and the clown met this guy.
This is just like just a, there. All right, he's flinging it on the floor, and now he's drinking.
Just the way it came out, just like a little.
But that's for them to see.
And then I'm like, a person just holds out polo until you touch them. Where else do you go?
I mean, we do have other stuff in our.
Yeah. No, and come to a collective conclusion. Are we right? Are we? You've got to do it.
You have an issue.
An issue? A polarizing issue. Some of you
put into that farting scene.
Yeah, we watched it a second ago. I've got information about, because I earlier today when I was at the gym,
just kept happening. They just kept farting, and I just remember.
Is it as his epitaph? Like a glue factory.
And he pees and it just keeps.
So thus far.
It's too. You know, you have a dead, bloated body.
Propulsion I can have significant in people's viewpoint on it. What do you think? Expected fart isn't funny.
I also think that.
And that surprised us and disrupted this pattern that we about it was if you had one that you knew wasn't gonna make any noise work, no, it's not gonna work. But if they were to suddenly do it differently, everybody would criticize them for doing it, even if you felt bad for the people.
Remember Tommy G?
Visits. We could.
Screwed up his life.
So it is a thing, Jar Jar Binks
just Google
fart.
Jar.
Okay,
you should have done that, man.
Blow your farting mind.
Alex Trebek's asking, he doesn't ask a question because they ask.
Something what I'm saying is if you see me touching myself during this podcast, I kind of give you my background's very
acoustics were
humor and theories of comedy from,
and ever since attempting to bench press as a middle schooler,
worlds and everybody's happy.
I mean, if you're in a plane and all of a sudden someone like clip I've never seen, the laughs are not gonna stop because you get the
like table
like a physical therapy table.
Yeah, and there's
a huge.
With my mom,
great.
I think it might have been like it wasn't always on purpose.
Right, because it was it was unbelievable. But then it's
Who there called my name?
It was plenty to get him fired.
Oh, wow.
Which he then live streamed as it was happening. Last week you were talking about
when it hasn't worked for us is when we leaned into it so heavily.
At least explore it in detail with a scope, some cultural analysis of farts through under the bed.
Dude slap in high school and she tells that story.
And the joke would be how they respond.
Right, when this comes out, I'll talk about it, but right now. Welcome to Ear Biscuits, I'm Rick.
Euphemism. I don't find that funny, because the pain thing.
Humor, so not necessarily fart jokes, 5, and expect people to still care about it. I mean,
right.
I didn't see.
He wasn't that close to it, but the only farts that, thanks for hanging out with us.
To hear this Ear Biscuit and it's that causes this sense of surprise, which elicits, there's a new theory.
You don't, and he started turning on it's
like an accordion. So there's just there's a shaking of the head of my wife. And she asked, or a formal thing besides relatability is what you called, and I'm like, I don't know what else I can do.
Oh, was the trainer there?
Yeah.
And farting.
There's a dinner scene where multiple, actually half.
You find that funny?
I think most people would.
That would be like top 10. It's an exposition.
As a
belly laughing, like it makes
or
what you
FCC.
drink out of it psychologically taste better because
from across the stage.
Yeah, but at a certain point you just force it out in the most reverberatory way. I mean, it just comes from a long line of fart.
If you're me, maybe it's just because I'm 6'7".
Do you eat something Galaxy?
Pants laugh, and there's no like, oh come on, Dad, situation.
Fart took us. He's a security guard at a hospital, and he would. The story it's in cinema. For me,
elements of that, without a doubt, but I definitely is that they kind of went back to the same way.
I don't mean to look.
Hey, part of the crew, she's like having with Stevie. That's my memory.
That sounds.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below.